Morning everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at the Reefs Cheater. These cheaters are gray compound, not pink compound. The gray being what Reefs actually recommends for the type of environment I crawl in, but also I bought these when they first came out and gray was the only thing that they offered at that time. They didn't even have the pink compound when I bought these, so I haven't really run them yet, and so this is kind of the first run for me with this tire as well. And depending on how we do, maybe I'll order them in pink and see how they compare. But I've ran a couple other Reefs tires. I've run the Crux, I've run the Scrub, the Crux in gray, the Scrub in pink, and both of those tires are very underwhelming. So we'll see how the cheaters treat me today. Coming onto the side hill, we are taking the lower line where we put the driver's side tire below this crack in the rock. It's more difficult here, it's steeper, and we have to traverse more cracks in the rock as we turn up. A lot of collapse on that sidewall right now. I'm running Crawler Innovation dual stage foams. But because this is a very thin carcass tire, I am running, these are 475 Crawler Innovations with the outer tuning ring. But man, that is collapsing quite a bit. Well, it's not really collapsing, it's folding under. So I think the issue there is because of that outer tuning ring, which the outer tuning ring is needed to fill the tire. But I guess what I would say is there's a rollout. Ooh, that took a nasty hit on the rear axle. Hope we didn't break another rod end. We're good for now. Because of that thin carcass, the tire is not unusually tall. I mean, it's a class 2 size tire, but because of that thin carcass, we need that outer tuning ring to fill the tire, and that is allowing for the tread, not the tread, but the part of the tire where the tread's attached. It's the sidewall's not collapsing, it's just kind of folding under. Let's try the higher line, see if we have that same issue. The solution there would be to have a tire with a larger inner foam. Maybe I need to verify that these are 475 and not the 4.5. Because this tire is not that big. I'm surprised that's happening. But it is very thin. Ooh, that's also, we got a lot of side slide. And we're going to roll out again. So the front tire is caught down in that crack. Let's try to drive forward and settle that front end. See if we can, there we go. There's the settle. See if we can slowly turn up now. But I need the rear to pivot and I need the front to steer, neither of which is happening right now, but I am going very slowly because I'm trying not to upset that front end again. Settle. Now we get to a steeper part of the rock where it gets more difficult. I really need the pivot from the rear end right now. Now we're going to roll. Can I settle? If I go forward, can I settle? The front is sliding, the rear is not, probably due to the weight of the rig. We've got a front weight bias. We've got soft foams up front and mediums in rear. Could be another problem. That's generally the combination I run, but not every tire loves that. That front driver's side folding under. We're going to roll out. I'm going to avoid the rollout because we've rolled off this obstacle a lot this weekend. It's only a matter of time before we break a rod end. So let's give it a little hand to God. Yeah, we're not going to get the reposition. See if we can get a reverse reposition. Nope. Just constant. I need to bring a freaking mattress out here with me and just put it under this obstacle. I'm half serious about that. I might start bringing my sleeping pad down here, one of my spare ones, and just put it down there when I drive this obstacle. Just, it's such a harsh roll off because we've got a big drop off of here, and then we're just onto a bunch of rocks, and it just breaks stuff eventually. One more attempt at the side hill. I don't have high hopes. This is, unfortunately, this is indicative of what I have seen with the other Reefs tires. Is I do not believe that this is, I mean, I'm turning up very early and we're able to do it, but this is pretty much a failure of the side hill. I don't believe that this is a lug design issue. I believe that this is a compound and carcass issue. And I've seen this with both the pink and the gray compounds. This happened with the crux, this happened with the scrub, and now it's happening with the cheater. I'm not sure who is making these tires for Reefs, but my experience, at least with them, has been extremely underwhelming. I really love their servos. I haven't found a single one of their tires that I like yet. Ugh. But this is what happens when some of these smaller companies, you know, I appreciate the companies, they're run by hobbyists. They do a lot for the hobby, and they generally make good parts, but sometimes I think you can expand too fast, and I kind of wonder if that's not happening to Reefs. You know, they started out just with their servos, which I'm pretty sure are just AGFRC servos with a little customization, a little custom tuning. But they started out just with servos for a couple years, and I mean, their servos are really good. I've never had an issue with any of their servos. Good performance there by the cheater. Not an extremely difficult obstacle, but also a little harder than it looks, and really no issues to complain about. I need this water level to drop back down to normal. I'm going to fall in the water walking along here one of these times. But it seems like in the last year they've started doing bead locks, they've started doing tires, they have transmissions, they have I think a couple other different components. So they've expanded their product line a lot, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I do not believe that they're manufacturing anything themselves. I think everything they sell, including their servos, is somebody else manufacturing it and them putting their name on it. And I'm very curious who's manufacturing these tires. Because whoever it is, I think the biggest problem with all of them is carcass. Ooh, what is that? Hang on a minute. I got something on my leg. It's got a tick before he burrowed. Forgot to put on my DEET this morning. That's pretty good performance. Although that tells me the tire I drove before this was the Baja Pro X from Proline, and this confirms that tire struggled on this obstacle, and that just confirmed that it was an offset issue and a width of the tire issue. This obstacle is pretty narrow. But anyway, when I say I think that the issue that I have with Reefs tires is a carcass issue, what I mean is I believe that the carcass on their tires is too thin. And a thin carcass is often a good thing in terms of performance. Upgrade RC, for instance, especially the Rock Claws, it's a very thin carcass tire, but it also has a really good compound and a really good lug design, and it's really well thought out. I think that the compound here is okay. but I don't think it works well with the thinness of the carcass. And the reason I'm starting to believe that is from what I've seen on the side hill, especially with the way that the tire folds under. It's not collapsing. Like with the dual stage foam, I've ran in the different Reefs tires, I've ran, that's a pretty good pull up there. I've ran Crawler Innovations foams, I've run 3D inserts, but I've seen the same thing with all of them, is the fold under. And that is usually indicative of a very soft carcass that is a little bit too conformative. Obviously, you want a tire to conform to the surface of the rocks, but you can have too much of that. And when that happens, the tire just basically can't hold up to the torque. Now, so far, since the side hill, we haven't really had any issues. The cheaters have actually been doing good since that, but we really haven't had any difficult obstacles. Our 2 more difficult obstacles are coming up here in just a minute. So that'll be kind of the real telling of whether the cheater can stand out from the other Reefs tires that I've tested. You know, I've said before, I need to get that back on camera. Okay, give me the slow set down, slow nosedive. Dang it! Too much slip on that rear. I'm having a lot of issues keeping things in frame because the areas which I'm used to standing in, even on the obstacles that aren't underwater, most so I will accept. Good grief. So this is carcass again. I am worried about how we're going to do on our next 2 obstacles. The carcass just folds. That's what's happened coming down this obstacle. That's what's happened trying to go up it. Now I'm gotta hang up, but this carcass is way too soft. I believe that these tires need to be severely overstuffed to combat that. Like, very, very overstuffed. And even then, I don't know how well you could really combat it. I mean, at the end of the day, I believe that the carcass is just not a good one. But what I was going to say is, if a tire can do well everywhere other than the side hill, which I've had tires do, that's not that huge of a deal. I mean, if I've got to give up performance somewhere, side hill is one of the areas that I'm more willing to give up that performance, because you don't always do a lot of side hilling. And if you really want to, when you side hill, if you have a tire that is, if you really want a side hill, even if you're in a comp and you need to side hill and your rig or your tire is not good at side hilling, you can always winch. You take your winch, you have a mounting point at the top. You see a lot of times the little, like, I don't remember what it's called. I'm just going to say nipple that you see that people have on a rack on the top. In my case, I would run the winch just through the roll bar. But you pull the winch up, you run it through either your turnbuckle or your nipple or your headache rack or whatever you have there. You have a point on top where you can pivot and you wrap that cable around and then you winch to something and you can keep yourself steady. I'm not using any proper terminology right now. I'll show you guys at some point what I mean. I think I need to start thinking about doing more than just reviews. I'm going to do not some extremely technical stuff, but I'll do some more technical videos. And I think I'll do a how-to video on winching, because winching is something that I see a lot of people try. And I wouldn't say there's a lot of, like, I wouldn't say most people don't know how, but I see a lot of people trying to winch. And I don't know. I don't want to go as far as say they don't know what they're doing, but they could use some help. So what we're seeing here, again, regarding carcass, is a lot of times when you have a really soft carcass on the rear tire, when it's loaded, you'll see it wrap. These are kind of wanting to wrap, but they're also not. And I think that's a combination of a thin carcass and a compound that doesn't grip very well. We were able to slow crawl over. That said, it took a little bit of time, but we were able to slow crawl over and hook the side wall. There is side lug on the cheater, but not a whole lot. But we were able to complete that obstacle without too much difficulty. I mean, that's a pretty decent showing. As far as which direction I'm running the cheater has kind of a crown design on the lug. The little pins on it are kind of little crowns. And I am running it with the, I would say, crown forward. So the like part of the crown is facing forward. Now we need to get here and reposition, turn around. Ooh, don't go too far. This obstacle we have to try to come on straight, but it's hard because this water is usually 30 feet down, like past that plant. Oh, no. Okay, let me pause. Already went fishing early this morning. I'm not really looking to go again. Caught about 20 bluegill this morning. All right, rear diff hang. Yeah, no issues there. Cheater's able to pull that right across without even hesitating. It is only 9 o'clock in the morning right now. Making good time on the day. Trying to get as much as I can done before the heat of the day hits. Because it hasn't been that hot. Like yesterday, it wasn't that hot. It was only like the high was 85. But with all the rain that there has been lately, the humidity has been really high. And so, I mean, it's pretty humid right now. But once that sun gets up there and it's beaten down and there's high humidity, it was miserable. Able to get on easily, able to slow crawl up. I gotta say, the Reefs has pretty good forward drive. I need to... This is not tire. This is this obstacle. The dismount on this obstacle just sucks. It's the easiest way to put it. So you dismount. I mean, you have this really sharp angle, so if you don't dismount with wheel speed, you just get high centered. And then you dismount into this ravine that's pretty narrow, and you have this rock and this rock to contend with, and this rock causes a lot of problems. The problem is it's set into the ground, and this big guy's sitting on it, so I don't know that I can just move it. I'm going to try, because those rocks are a pain. I'm going to try that right now while I'm thinking about it. Okay, that wasn't bad. There's a big hole there now, but that'll get filled in with dirt as it rains and stuff settles. So onto the trails. We will see how the, what are these called? Cheaters do. Just about fell. See how the cheaters deal with surface transition. Loose surface, loose dirt to rock. Pretty good. So this lip on this rock is what we're trying to pull up on. Most tires hesitate here. It's a fairly slick rock, and that lip is pretty significant. Usually, yeah, there we go. Shuttle back and forth and you'll get it. And another one that's a little harder than it looks. High centered. There we go. See how there's another rock that I need to move because the rear bumper gets hooked on it. This little guy right there. I think that was driver error. I'm going to reset. Come down back off so I'm not giving it any free advantages. Yeah, that hook right there, that's that rear bumper getting hooked on a rock that's sticking up out of the ground. Pull it off. A lot of lug noise, a lot of sliding back. Ooh, I thought we were going to have it, and then there we go. Not too much drama. Could have been a little smoother, but all in all, that was pretty good. And finally, our loose gravel hill climb, which this weekend is not too loose because the rain has set a lot of it in. Able to do that without issue. So what do we think about the cheaters? Well, they're the best Reefs tire that I've tested to date. The only real issue they had was the side hill. I still think the carcass is a little bit problematic, but I'm starting to think that the gray compound and the carcass is not a good match. So I've seen enough here that I'm going to order this in the pink compound and see how they compare. I'm going to run these exact same inserts in them, see if they do any better. $30 a set or a pair. So a little steep on the price, but actually they might be 31 or 32. I think they're 30. Little steep on the price, but not unreasonable. There's better tires out there. I mean, this is the best Reefs tire that I've tested, but it's not at the top of the list for tires because, quite honestly, even though, like I said, I'm willing to sacrifice side hill if a tire is good at everything else, there's tires that cost the same or less that are better at everything than this is. So we will test the pink compound, though, because that is supposed to be their superior compound, and we'll see how it does. So until then, everybody, have a good one.